welcome to this special Nerd on Nerd with me, Jack Kempster.
And me, Liam Underwood.
What are we talking about in this super special episode, Liam?
Well, as our listeners hopefully know, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice was released this weekend to a very divisive critical reception. Majority negative. So we thought we'd weigh in with our thoughts.
And luckily for you guys, our thoughts are as divisive as everyone else's.
So it goes without saying, there are going to be spoilers for Batman vs Superman and also Man of Steel.
Yeah. Also, and if you haven't seen the film, go see it. This special will, hold. It's not our normal episode. That is still coming out next Monday.
Yeah. So we will get into spoilers, but if you haven't seen the movie and you're curious for our thoughts, here's a very, very quick, spoiler-free, one-sentence review of what both myself and Jack Kempster thought. So I really liked it, 4 out of 5.
I thought it was a heaping pile of shit, 2 out of 5.
So now, with those ringing endorsements, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it.
Or don't bother.
Otherwise, we will be getting into spoilers. So now, you've been warned, you've literally only got yourself to blame. So let's start, Jack, if we may, with our history with this product, because it's been in the making for a while now. I think we can agree.
Yeah, is it how long? Is it 3 years? Or
yeah,
it feels like 3 years.
So Man of Steel came out in 2013, and I think it was not long after that it was announced, instead of a Man of Steel 2, we would be getting Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure we discussed this at the time, but I don't remember exactly how you thought. For me, when it was announced, my initial gut reaction was very queasy about this idea. I thought, what are they doing, putting Batman and Superman together? I was like, they're not... it felt like, because this also all happened after the first Avengers movie, because I think that was 2012.
Yeah.
And to me, them announcing Batman vs Superman was kind of like... It felt to me like the bigwigs behind DC and Warner Brothers had kind of eyed up the Avengers and how well it did, and thought, we want a slice of that pie, but we ain't got 4 years to go around establishing a load of different heroes before we bring them together.
Yeah, no, it's 100% that. It's DC thought they had to play catch up.
Yeah, so my very immediate gut reaction was, they're not doing it what I considered the right way, which is the Marvel way.
I don't even know if DC needed it.
Needed what?
To do a joint film at all. Like it feels like you said, the fact that it feels like they're trying to sort of play catch up with Marvel, or get their Avengers film out.
Yeah, I initially thought, why aren't we having a solo Batman film, maybe another Superman sequel, and then bring them together?
I mean, after seeing Man of Steel, I was like, I don't know why we're doing any more Superman stuff.
Yeah, we had very different opinions on Man of Steel, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that is also a heaping crock of shit.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So first, that happened. Then, I don't know if you remember, there was that very brief snippet from Comic-Con.
Yep.
No, sorry, before that, Ben Affleck was announced as being cast as Batman.
Yep, which I was on board with.
Yep, I didn't understand all of the negative response to that. Sure, he wasn't great as Daredevil. That was fucking like a decade ago. Give the guy a break. He is a super good actor. Mm-hmm. And I think, particularly in the last 10 years, definitely, he has matured very much in what roles he's taken. And also, I think him doing his directing has really helped with that. I don't know if you've seen Argo at all, but that is
I haven't seen it.
It's a really good movie. So not only was I kind of curious about the casting of Ben Affleck, but I was also intrigued by the fact that we're clearly now getting an older Batman.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big thing, was they were doing the older Batman, and that's exciting.
Yeah, that's when I started slightly rethinking my fears about this movie, and I started getting interested. Then we had the very brief Comic-Con snippet where you just see Batman in his sort of big power armour, I think, staring at the bat signal.
Yeah, so you're saying all this started changing your fears, but it just amplified mine?
Yeah, this is why, our opinions are different.
Like, the whole showing us the old Batman, it was all cool. The stuff they were doing with Batman seemed cool.
Yeah.
But they kept showing snippets that were I don't know, not selling it to me.
That's fair. Well, so after that we had the first trailer. That was the next big thing. And the first trailer, that's when I started getting excited.
Do you remember which trailer has the scene with Superman crashing down and all those people like kneeling before him?
That was the second trailer.
Okay, so the first trailer I still wasn't excited.
Yes. Then the second trailer happened, which is the one where it's Superman sort of unmasking Batman and revealing Bruce Wayne.
Yes, and I remember at the time me and you had a discussion about this, and I said, if that is what they do, if they go with the Superman's sort of gone mad with power,
yes,
and we have him versus Batman in that way, I'm on board. And then you said there's a rumour that that is a dream sequence, and I said, well, if it's a dream sequence, I'm going to hate this movie.
Yep. We'll get there.
Yep.
Then they released a third trailer, and this is the one where I was disappointed. I think the third trailer is the one where they revealed Doomsday, and that was a step too far for the marketing, I think. I think that should have been kept under wraps.
It shouldn't have even happened.
Whatever. Like,
no, it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have.
It did though, so we just have to accept that and move on.
No,
no.
We're doing our opinions on the film. We don't have to accept
at
anything.
the moment we're doing our opinions on the marketing around the film.
Yeah, and I don't think they ever should have included Doomsday in this film. So the marketing where they revealed that Doomsday was in the film was way too far for me, because I was like, we're going to get half of... We both said we're going to get half the film of Batman vs Superman,
yes,
and half the film of Doomsday.
Yes. But to be fair, we knew from day one that it wasn't going to end with Batman against Superman. There was always going to be something to bring them together for them to fight against.
You can't... If you're doing that, don't reveal that the villain that you're going to waste on the half... Like, not even waste, like, that's me being over the top. But in the reveal...
Yes.
Like, there's the villain you want to have been revealed there is a less major Superman villain or a Batman villain, either one.
Yeah.
But just someone that's not going to be... Because, like, if there was a Doomsday verse... Not a Doomsday verse Superman, but if there was a Superman film that had Doomsday in it, I'd be on board with that.
Okay. So this is something else that I think is worth pointing out at this point as well. I have pretty much zero history with DC Comics. I've read a couple of Superman ones and a couple of Batman ones, but I'm really not well versed in the DC universe.
No, I'm not particularly either.
Okay, like I for example, I've never seen Doomsday before in comic form.
You've seen him in Smallville, where he is also not Doomsday.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, he's in Smallville, Liam.
Okay, I haven't got to that season yet, unfortunately. I've only seen Brainiac in Smallville, is like the big one, and Zod, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, my kind of knowledge of Superman comes from all of the movies so far and the first 5 seasons of Smallville.
Right.
So it's fair to say I'm not an expert in any of the mythology behind this.
Yep, fair enough.
And I think it's worth pointing out at this point that I feel like Batman vs Superman has a lot of nods to the comic books, but not necessarily...
I disagree entirely.
I think having some sort of history with the comics would benefit. So, for example, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but there is a scene where it essentially is setting up the Justice League, okay? And you see 3 members of the Justice League, and I don't want to go into it too much just yet, but I didn't even know who one of those members was. It wasn't until after the movie.
That's not a nod to the comic books. Because in the comic books, the characters that we're getting in this Justice League aren't the same as the original Justice League.
But sure, like
Green Lantern was one of the original Justice League members, and he's not involved.
What I don't know is if that like origin for that character is the same as what we saw here in the comics or not.
Yeah, it's similar, I think.
So
I think they well, he's the only one. It's not even the origin, is it? It's just a snippet that is sort of his origin.
Yeah, so basically, I think if you've read the comics, you would know who that was from seeing that, whereas I didn't.
He's not even... It's not but it's not the comics. I don't know. It's not...
How would someone have known that?
What you think it is. No, he's in the comic,
yeah.
Right, he's in the comic books.
Yes.
But he's famous from Teen Titans.
Okay.
Like, that was where the big, like, cyborg stuff happened.
What's Teen Titans?
A children's cartoon based on young members of the DC universe.
Okay.
It had Robin, Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven were the characters. Oh, and Beast Boy.
Okay. But yeah, I do think having some sort of background with the comics would have benefited with this movie with certain elements. Like there were definitely things that it weren't until afterwards.
Can you give me another example? Like, because I get the Cyborg one, I can understand the logic there, but can you give me another one?
It wasn't until afterwards that I realised that one of the dream sequences, was the Flash time travelling.
Oh yeah, right.
I didn't
I knew
know
that was. I would. Yeah, I knew that it was the Speed Force, and yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there's certain things that I do think having that understanding would help.
But I don't think they were nods. I feel like you're being generous to say they're nods to the comic books. Whereas Marvel, you know, there's been stuff in Marvel where it is a nod, where it's like a really subtle thing. Like there's a character that says something, and then the people that know the comic book are like, "Oh, that's this guy." Who, like, whereas this DC one, the nods. Aren't just not, they're like leading into something else, whereas those Marvel ones don't always lead into something. They'll just be a nod, and you're like, that's what I think a nod is. DC's is more a nod and a wink, where they're like, that's one of the, also we're making films.
That's one of the points I wanted to make, is when Marvel do a nod, and as we do this review, it's going to be impossible for us to not compare Marvel and DC.
Oh yeah, 100%.
When Marvel do a nod, it's like, oh, there's a thing in the background there that people who've read the comics might know what that is, or like you said, they'll reference a character or a place or something. With DC, when they kind of nod to the comics or whatever, it's something that actually has a bearing on what's going to happen in the future, potentially.
Yeah.
And I much prefer the fact that they're throwing in these comic book things that actually have a bearing on the plot. It's not just, well, it's in the background, so that'll shut the fanboys up.
Okay, so you say that, right? But this is my sort of counter-argument to that, would be not looking at Marvel's subtle nods, looking at their nods to what films they were going to make. So you look at the end of which film ended with Thor's hammer. It was Iron Man, wasn't it? Was it one of the Iron Man films that had that after credit scene? I think it might have been. Yeah, with Agent Coulson, they go to the desert. He's like, oh,
or was that after the Incredible Hulk?
Oh, maybe it was after.
Because the Iron Man one was just Nick Fury showing up and saying, "You're about to enter a bigger world," sort of thing. Yeah,
no, you're right. I think it was Hulk. But that nod to me, right?
Yeah,
they didn't go, we found Thor's hammer. This is Thor. We're doing a Thor film. They went, we found the hammer in the desert. It's not a subtle thing, so most people would probably realise it's Thor with any knowledge of Marvel.
Yep.
The people who didn't know at all would be like, why the fuck is there a hammer?
Yep.
But DC's equivalent of that was that in the middle of their Superman film, and Batman vs Superman, they go, oh look, here's footage of the Flash and Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and it was like so sledgehammer.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what we're doing. It was terrible. I really didn't enjoy that.
So, and this is where we differ with the whole what you were just saying about there was Thor's hammer at the end of Incredible Hulk. It had zero bearing on the Incredible Hulk movie.
Zero
bearing.
Sorry. Where did the Flash appear in Superman vs Batman? Where was the bearing on that film?
Well,
because in
we'll get into
Hulk,
that.
It sets up the Thor film, which is part of the Avengers, which has the Hulk and Thor in it. So it does have a direct bearing if you're talking about sequels, which is what DC just did.
We'll get into that. So
no, we'll not get into it. We're talking about it now because you just said I was wrong, and I am 100% right.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying when you see a hammer or something, what I'm saying is different between Marvel and DC. Marvel will throw in these little things and these teasers, especially the after credits teasers. I'm kind of pleased that DC aren't doing that, because it is a way for Marvel to set things up separate to the movie they're trying to tell. And that works for Marvel. Marvel have a template, and fuck me, they will stick to that template and churn out movie after movie.
Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man?
Yeah.
I disagree with you.
There are a couple of exceptions.
Then it's not them religiously sticking to a template.
No, majority, there's a couple of exceptions, and my big point with Marvel is when they deviate from their template, it works really fucking well, but they don't do it enough.
Okay, alright.
That's my issue with Marvel.
I can accept that point, but DC have only released 2 films in this new cinematic universe, so we can't say that DC won't do the same.
No, it's very early days for DC yet.
Yeah, so I don't think it's fair to like compare it to the Marvel cinematic universe in that sense, in that DC have only just started building.
Yeah, so I'm not saying
they had to scrap Batman.
Yeah, what I think is different is Marvel really took their time to slowly build the universe.
Yeah,
DC are just throwing us straight into it. These things are all happening simultaneously. With Marvel, it kind of feels like, if you look at the timeline that we've seen so far of Marvel movies, you had the 40s where they kind of created Captain America. Then there was like no superhero incidents worth mentioning until 2008 when Iron Man popped onto the scene, and then superheroes started becoming relevant again. And it's kind of like they've just skipped over a large chunk of history and gone, you know what, we're not doing a movie about that, so fuck it doesn't matter, nothing happened, nothing of interest happened. Whereas DC have basically gone, we've got this universe here and there's a lot of cogs already spinning that we might get into, but you just need to kind of be aware that they're happening while this story we're trying to tell is going on.
But again, you're reading too much into it when you say that. But it's Marvel haven't gone, after the 40s nothing happened. In fact, they've made a TV series entirely based on the time period in between the films.
Is that Agent Carter?
Yeah.
Is that any good?
I haven't watched it. No, I haven't watched it.
We don't know.
But I know that it takes place in the time period that you just said nothing is happening.
Okay.
Whereas, and DC, you say there's stuff that happened before, or whatever. All they've done is go, Batman stuff happened. It's not them going, there's a huge, wide universe. It's fucking Batman. It's been, 20 years? He's meant to be, 50?
Yeah, something like that.
So it's not like DC have gone, we've got a universe full of superheroes. There's 2 that we know of.
So
and
far.
2 that have only just happened after that. And 1 who was around since what time period, Liam? The 1914s. So she's been around, the same as Captain America, so exactly the fucking same.
Well, yeah, alright.
If you say to me one more time, we'll get to that, I will thump you.
Can we start getting into it then?
Yes.
So that's kind of our history with it. We've got Man of Steel as well to discuss very briefly.
There's not much point, it was shit.
I liked it, and I liked it more upon rewatching it. And I actually like it even more after Batman vs Superman.
But it's the most bullshit Superman story.
Right, we've had this discussion so many times, and we do not agree on it.
Yeah, I don't understand why you put it in the plan for this episode.
So here's my thoughts on it, and then you can give your thoughts on it, okay?
Yeah.
My thoughts on Man of Steel is it's not a Superman movie, it is a Superman in training movie, and we never actually see him really being Superman until maybe one of the very, very final scenes. Up until that point, it's him figuring out how to be Superman. Your thoughts?
What Man of Steel was a super long film, like you said, about him not being Superman. Then a chunk at the end where we're meant to think he's Superman, but he rampages through a city, killing hundreds and millions.
Okay, and I'm pleased you mentioned that, because what I really liked, and I remember when Man of Steel came out, a lot of critics and fans were very upset about that ending, saying, Superman wouldn't allow that much destruction and carnage to happen. And I really like that Batman vs Superman directly addresses that, and it actually plays into the plot. It's not just ignored. Like, if we were to compare it to Marvel again, Marvel will destroy New York, and then the next movie they'll be like, that incident, that was bad, wasn't it? But, moving on.
You need to stop making Marvel points that are immediately disproved, because the next Marvel film that we're going to see is the Marvel film about how they've destroyed New York, and they're going to get their comeuppance.
Yeah, we're going to get there, but from between the Avengers and then all of Phase 2, I mean, sure, we had Tony Stark having post-traumatic stress about it, but we didn't really have, a wider understanding of how this actually impacted the kind of history of America, if you will, like on a grander scale.
Okay, yeah. But what you say, Batman vs Superman dealt with it. They didn't. They have a scene where Batman goes, it's really bad that he killed all these people. You don't ever get... And you said fans and critics didn't like the fact they said Superman wouldn't have done that. There's not a scene in the film where Superman goes, I can't believe I did that. In fact, Superman is very much like, I did that.
Yeah.
There's no, resolution to it.
I mean, it ties into him being made accountable. Like, one of the themes, if you will, of this movie, and it's also going to be a theme we'll see in Civil War, is the responsibility that comes with being a hero.
Yeah.
And who holds them accountable.
But it's not resolved. This is one of my issues with Batman vs Superman.
Right.
They start telling those stories, and they lead to... it could have been a really interesting film, but they don't do anything with it. They go, maybe Superman should be accountable. And then the one person who's saying, or 2 people, Batman and Lex Luthor, are saying, they should do that. There's one counsellor who's just like, well, we'll talk about it.
Yes.
But I don't think they should hold him accountable because he's got to do it. Which is bullshit.
Alright, let's get into the story. One of my criticisms with Batman vs Superman is they were trying to tell a little bit too much story. And bearing in mind, the majority of the story happens in the first 90 minutes, I'd say. We have a 2-hour, 40-minute movie. I think the majority of the story happens in the first 90 minutes, and then the rest is essentially fighting. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe. I feel like it's not how long was the film?
2 hours. 2 hours.
I felt like 40. I was in there for weeks.
It was 2 hour 40.
Okay, so yeah. Well, is 90 minutes half of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just over half. So yeah, that makes sense.
Alright, so let's start going through these story threads and trying to untangle it a little bit.
Cool. Let's start it from the beginning.
So we start
Batman.
with Batman, and we once again see his parents dying.
No, but I like the way they did it.
I thought it was
one of the
cool.
best parts of this film was they went, we're not going to do the origin story.
Yes.
It's going to be it was similar to the Watchmen intro. You remember how it did like that? They were all the photographs being taken.
Yeah.
It felt very much like that.
Yeah, I liked the way they handled it. I mean, we've seen the story so many times before that we didn't really need to dive deep into it.
Yeah, all comic books movies need to get to this point now, like especially with the characters that have had multiple films.
Yes.
They should just be like, yeah, everyone knows it, but I get that they've got to do a little one.
Yeah.
For new people coming to the franchise, that's fine, and I think they did it the right way.
Take note, Spider-Man.
Yeah, definitely.
So we see that. Then we see the end of Man of Steel from Bruce Wayne's perspective.
Yep, which again, I really like that.
Yep, that whole sequence was brilliant.
Yep.
And then we kind of start getting into the Batman aspects where we start finding out that he's been doing this for 20 years, and in this movie we have a Batman very different to any Batman we've seen before.
It's Batman at the end of his career and at the end of his tether.
Yeah,
he's starting to get harder with the criminals.
Yes, he's branding them.
Yes,
knowing full well that doing that makes them a high priority target in prison.
Yes, they say it's basically a death sentence.
Yes.
when they come in with a brand.
Yeah, we've essentially got a Batman here who is just so fucking sick and tired of dealing with criminals for 20 years that he's just stopped giving a shit, basically.
But see because there was one of the Batman, I think it's part of that this bit is when he's walking through the Batcave.
Yeah,
and you see the Jason Todd Robin costume.
Yes, again,
which is
that's another one of those things where I was saying if you understand the comics, yeah. And I'm hoping
but that also means that it's definitely confirming the Suicide Squad Joker theory,
which is
100%. Yeah,
what's that?
That Jason Todd is the Joker in Suicide Squad.
Okay, I didn't know that was a theory.
Yeah. Oh, that was a theory that's been around for a while, and that confirms it effectively.
Okay.
Because there was before there's bullet holes in the suits, and they match up with the scars on the Joker. But right, what that means is that it's the Batman at the end of all those storylines where he's had apprentices who have been brutally murdered.
Yes.
It probably implies that there might be, the Barbara Gordon storylines and stuff like that have already happened to him.
Right.
So that's why he's willing to kill, I think.
I think, and this is another thing to bear in mind while we're discussing this, there is going to be a longer R-rated cut of this movie that will be released on Blu-ray. And I think I heard somewhere that Barbara Gordon was one of the elements that was cut.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So...
See, but then I get that there's... but I'm not going to let that factor into this.
No, I'm just saying, there's... Again, this ties into... There's too much story trying to go on here. And the fact that I think they've got another half hour that they could put back into the movie... if that isn't just, half hour more of CGI fighting, there's going to be a lot of plot.
There's apparently going to be a sex scene, was what I've heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Between?
No idea. I just read somewhere that they were one of the things that was apparently cut was a sex scene.
I'm hoping it's between Alfred and Martha, personally.
That would be sweet.
Yes. So, Batman. We've got him very much kind of... I would say he's almost psychotic.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And we do have a Batman where... And I found this to be quite refreshing. He doesn't really seem to care about killing people, and particularly not killing people.
Oh, he doesn't. He blows people up with grenades, Liam.
Yes. I liked that. I get that some people might not. But for me, one of the things that I most appreciate about this movie, and I'll probably say this many times throughout this
Please
review...
don't just make the point once, because...
No, it was different. It did something different to what we've seen before.
Yeah.
And the Batman we see here is different. So that's kind of the Batman storyline up until the point where he decides that Superman needs to be stopped.
Well, he decides that he decides that in the scene that we see at the end of Man of Steel.
That's true.
Because that's when he's you see Superman smashing through a building and Batman's glaring at him.
Yeah, he's very angry.
And then he says that, and then it's is it 12 years later or 2 years later?
18 months.
18 months, so nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
But jump forward.
Yeah,
and he's been planning to deal with the Superman threat.
Yes, and we also have a very nice scene with Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent meeting.
Yes.
I liked all of the scenes with both Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent.
I don't know. I liked it in the trailer when we saw that scene. Because it is basically that whole scene is
you
what we saw in the
essentially
trailer.
Yeah.
But, like, in the film, it felt weird because it's like... Because you have Lex saying, oh, I wouldn't start a fight with this guy and all that stuff.
Yes.
But does Lex know who they are at that point?
I have my suspicions he does.
But does he?
We don't know for sure. I have
because
suspicions.
It's either just weird and a stupid reference that's odd, or he knows and it doesn't really make anything more interesting anyway. But
so what we also have is, I guess Lex Luthor ties into Batman's storyline. So let's discuss Lex very briefly, who kind of is coming from the same position as Batman in that Superman need a way of controlling him. And Lex is the smart one that figures out kryptonite is the key, and essentially Batman steals the kryptonite from Lex to develop a weapon to kind of bring Superman down.
Yeah.
And would you say that brings us up to the point where it's Batman versus Superman? Have I missed out anything?
Well, is that all we're saying about Lex, or are we talking about Lex later as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about Batman's storyline.
Alright, cool. Yeah, then move on to Superman.
Yeah, so we've got Superman's storyline next.
The most interesting storyline, can I tell it, Liam?
Sure, it won't take long.
Oh, it's so good. Superman is flying around doing stuff. Way. Lois Lane's there. Way. Done.
The issue that you didn't cover, which is a criticism, is that for a Batman versus Superman movie, we do not get nearly enough of Superman's perspective.
Oh, I don't think that was an issue. I think we could have almost done with no Superman story.
Yeah, you could probably cut
he's
Superman
the most
from this.
uninteresting rendition of Superman there might ever have been. He doesn't feel any remorse for... Like, the interesting thing with the Superman they've made is that he will kill to, like, save the world, and he's making tough choices, but they don't make those choices interesting because he never has a moral crisis about whether he should kill people.
Okay, what did you think of the scene, I think it's towards the start of the movie, where Lois Lane is in...
The bathtub?
No.
Okay. That's the scene that comes to mind.
Okay, would you like to talk about that at all?
No, we'll talk about that later.
Lois Lane's in, like, some African country.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
okay,
did you know, because it's not really said in the movie, I read it in an interview with Zack Snyder, that the photographer she's with is Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, I assumed it was, yeah.
Yeah, apparently that's going to, again, be explained further in the extended cut.
As soon as anyone in a Superman film is following Lois Lane around and taking photos, I assume it's Jimmy Olsen.
Pretty ballsy move to shoot him in the head immediately. Considering, like, that's a pretty big character.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's, like, the right kind of ballsy.
Killing
off a minor character that you haven't introduced into your franchise doesn't strike me as bold.
I liked it. It took me by surprise. Because, again, like you, I assumed it was Jimmy Olsen, and then they killed him, and I was like, wait a second. Would they have just killed Jimmy Olsen?
I wonder why I didn't react to it. I knew it was Jimmy Olsen. They killed him, and I didn't really have a... That's weird.
And then...
Because I feel like I should have reacted.
So then Superman arrives to save Lois Lane, and that also kind of starts tying up with the whole Senate hearing of... I think the African thing is more important even than the Metropolis destruction stuff. Yeah, well, the
idea is that they think Superman killed all those men.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, should he have killed people?
And really, it was Lex behind it all.
Yeah. But I didn't understand at all when they were like, oh, did Superman kill him? And then, like, the evidence that they're trying to find to... Like, the evidence they used to prove it wasn't Superman, or they're going to use to prove it wasn't Superman, is a bullet that's made...
Yeah, that whole storyline, to me, was weak.
Make sense,
like,
right?
Lois Lane...
If Superman had killed them, he wouldn't have used any bullets. So it doesn't matter that the bullet was made in America or whatever.
Yeah, Lois Lane doing the whole bullet
if there's
thing,
a bullet, Superman didn't fucking do it.
To me, it was just like they needed to give Lois Lane something to do. And that was... I felt like with Lois Lane, particularly in this movie, they didn't know what to do with her.
No, but you say that, but like you said, it's like the whole crux of the film is they're trying to prove... Like, to find out whether Superman's going to kill people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense that it was him at all. So it's the entire reason that they're having Senate hearings about Superman, and it's the most stupid thing, because the moment anyone went, there's a bullet casing, some of these men have bullet holes, they should have been like, right, what does Superman do? Oh, that's right, he fires laser beams out his eyes and tears people in half. It wasn't him. It doesn't even... It annoys me, Liam.
Alright.
This film doesn't use logic, is the issue.
Okay. And then we basically get Superman to a point where... So, but one of the very slightly aside there, Lois Lane and Superman coming to save her in Africa. If you was like a villain in this world, surely now you're like, right, she's the key. If we put her in trouble, Superman's going to show up. Which is exactly what Lex Luthor does.
Yeah, exactly.
And it works perfectly.
Yep.
And that's kind of when we get to the stage where we figure out Lex's master plan. He knows who Superman is, and he's kidnapped Martha Kent. And he basically gives Superman this ultimatum to bring him the head of Batman, or Martha Kent dies. And that's what sets up the fight of Batman vs Superman. Because I guess...
Well, they've had a fight. They have a fight earlier in the film.
Well, that's where... It was more of a warning than a fight, I think, at that point.
Yeah, but that's the kind of the build-up to it.
Yeah. Well, we basically, throughout the movie, we see Batman's justification for wanting to stop Superman, but we never actually have a reason for Superman to want to fight Batman.
No, you do.
What's that, then?
It's they have all the scenes when he's working at the Daily Planet.
Oh, he wants to stop the Bat Vigilante.
They're doing all the things about that people have been branded, and you've got Clark being like, "What?"
Yeah, Clark isn't
so
happy with Batman.
That's what I thought it was building up to, was they meet, because that also would have made sense. Is they meet, Superman's trying to stop Batman, Batman's trying to stop Superman.
Yeah,
and then you can also have them team up when they eventually have a discussion or whatever. They're fighting and talking, and they realise that they're not the way they're being portrayed and stuff like that.
Okay.
What we actually get, Liam, is the worst scene in this film, which is they eventually have their fight, because Lex is forcing Superman to fight Batman. Mm-hmm. They meet up, Superman gets shot by some normal bullets, because for some reason Batman decided he'd test the bullets.
Wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves, because let's just get to the point.
You said Martha's been kidnapped. That's
So we're at the point, right, where we've got Batman and Superman about to fight, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, before we get into that, I also just want to very quickly mention the whole Justice League setup, because I feel we need to talk about that before we talk about this. That happens before, though.
Yeah, no, but it's not part of the story. So, see, this is my issue with the film, is that the Justice League stuff doesn't slot into the film in any way.
No,
if you look at it and take it,
it
literally rips you out of the story and goes, look at Justice League clips, we're also doing Justice League.
The Justice League stuff is awkwardly inserted.
It's not even awkward, it doesn't fit into the film.
Okay, so alright, so Batman vs Superman, they have a fight. I really like the fight scene between the two of them.
Yeah, the fight's good. Like Batman realising that he gas weapons kryptonite, so that Superman loses his powers.
One of my worries about this movie was that we would have too much fighting. Like the end of Man of Steel, I think it's like a good hour of just them punching each other through buildings and shit. I think we had just... The fight between Batman and Superman was the perfect length for that fight to happen and remain interesting. Like, it didn't overstay its welcome. It left you wanting more.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, so at this point in the film, what was this? This was about 90 minutes in, right?
Yeah.
At this point in the film, I was yawning and I was super fucking bored. Genuinely.
Okay.
I was so bored at this point.
At this point, I had a stupid smile on my face. I was enjoying myself a lot. And now is pretty much when Doomsday appears.
No, can I please talk about the thing that I want to talk about? You keep powering through the story, and I want to talk about the scene where, right, so this is my issue with the story. Is this the
scene with Lois Lane in the bathtub?
Nope, this is the big crux of my issue with this film.
Okay.
Right? So the whole start of this film, Batman and Superman don't agree with what the other one's doing.
Yeah.
Right? Batman's upset that Superman killed people. Superman's upset that Batman is branding people.
Yeah.
Right? We get to the big fight scene, even though Lex is forcing Superman to fight him.
Yeah.
Superman has been meaning to stop Batman anyway, and
Yep.
Batman wants to stop Superman.
Yep.
So explain to me how the reason they team up is that Superman goes, Martha! They have Martha! And then Batman goes, why did you say that name? Because his mum's called Martha.
Yeah.
And then Lois Lane goes, his mum's called Martha too. And then they go, let's be friends and team up, yay!
Yeah.
At no point in this film that has been setting up a fucking, you guys are doing things but in different ways and you don't agree with each other, at no point do they ever resolve their differences. They just find out that their mums have the same name. That's not a reason to team up and form a fucking Justice League. It's the worst bit in that film.
Well,
it makes no sense.
They don't team up to form a Justice League, but we'll get there.
Yeah, but explain to me why that makes them team up at all.
Yeah. When I was watching it...
I get them teaming up for that bit, him realising Lex is bad. I get that it would make them team up maybe a little bit, but there's no bit where they're like, why, like, you're wrong. Which is what they've been saying for the whole film. They've been going, like, Batman's been talking to Alfred saying, oh, this guy's, like, got too much power and he's not using it right.
I think the way I saw that scene, I agree. The whole, like... I never had cottoned on to that Martha connection before either, that their mums had the same name.
No, yeah, neither did I. So I was very confused for a minute when I was like, why is Batman stopping?
I liked that was thrown in there. I agree, it's a weak way to get them on each other's side. I think a much better way would have been for Lex Luthor to have created Doomsday and then realised that he couldn't control him.
Yeah.
And that to me would have made a lot more sense. Yeah. But I think it was basically, like I said, that they realised that Lex was kind of orchestrating this and that Martha was innocent and kind of had got embroiled. And to me it was like Batman being kind of, right, we need to go and save Martha from Lex, then we can get back to resolving our differences. But we need to kind of hit pause on this.
No, I think...
Go and save that, and then we'll get back to it.
I don't think that is what it is at all.
I'm saying that's how I saw it.
They're not like cold to each other. It's not like Batman doesn't go, fine, we'll save your mum. There's not like...
all he says, all I can remember him saying...
That would have been better if they'd been like... If Batman was like, someone you love is in trouble, let's put this on hold. Like, if they'd had a scene where Batman says that, or something along those lines, just something that implied that they still didn't agree. But instead, they are very buddy-buddy for the rest of the fucking film.
The only thing I remember from that scene, I really want to see this movie again, is him really saying, Martha will not die tonight. That's the thing I remember. He goes off to do that. Then, from what I can gather, the next time they're kind of together is after the whole Doomsday thing has happened. So they don't really have an opportunity to be like, we still don't like each other.
You're remembering it like that. But what actually happens is, it's not like it's... Because it's very... I'm not, like, reading into it. It is very obviously implied that that's, like, that they're teaming up as, not friends, but, like, not enemies anymore. Yeah. Like, there's, like, because he doesn't say, Martha's not going to die tonight. He's like, I promise you, Martha won't die tonight. Superman then, is like, I need to go save my mum. Batman's like, no, you can't come with me, you're too weak. Mm-hmm. It's not like, that's not enemies. That's not enemies being like, let's do the right thing, then resolve our problem.
Okay.
It's honestly, you're giving it too much credit to give the implication being that there was going to be the fight afterwards. There's no implication of that at all.
I was saying that's how I was reading the movie as I was watching
it. That's not what they say. It's literally, seriously, I promise you Martha will not die tonight. Superman's like, I want to go save my mum. Batman's like, you're too weak.
Yeah. So
there's no, they honestly, that's it. They're like, oh, team.
But do you also not kind of think... And this is just massively speculating, that there's some sort of respect between the two of them after they fought.
No.
Okay.
Where would Batman have got the respect in that fight? Superman is stupid enough to be gassed twice.
Yeah.
That's not a respectful thing. That's like punching someone in the face and then blocking their stomach and you hitting them again and being like, I respect you for doing the wrong thing twice.
There's another quote that Batman says, which I can't remember right now. It's something about he's talking about the strength of man. I can't remember exactly. But I kind of see that as Superman respecting Batman, just for the fact that a normal quotes man has stood up to him and actually taken him down.
No, you're reading ways. See, that's the thing. I feel like the reason you like this film more than me is that you're willing to give it... and I feel like this is the way it was with the trailers as well, where I was like, this is starting to look bad.
Yep.
I'm not okay with this. And you're like... But I will assume that this is going to happen and the story, and I'll allow them all this extra leeway because they might do something else.
At the end of the day...
You can't judge this film based on what they might do in Justice League.
I give them a lot of leeway because at the end of the day, I get to see Batman and Superman fighting on a cinema screen, and that alone makes me happy.
Right, well that's a terrible reason to like the film.
I enjoyed a lot of other aspects to it. So, should we... What's the next bit you want to talk about? Justice League or Doomsday?
Let's do Doomsday because that's part of the story.
Okay, so Doomsday comes.
They ruined Doomsday.
Yeah, you're very unhappy with the whole Doomsday thing.
I know you said you don't know much about Doomsday, but the people that know stuff about Doomsday, it is the worst. Like, it's the worst thing they could have done to Doomsday. One, he's not General Zod, so I don't know what the fuck that was about.
Well, he's some sort of abomination, isn't he? That's what I could gather.
Yeah, it's General Zod mixed with
Lex Luthor's
human blood
yeah.
and a machine saying, this is one of the disfigured, we don't create the disfigured anymore.
Yep. I just, again, I need to reiterate, Lex Luthor, like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor throughout this, had me giggling my tits off.
But it's not, see, this is the thing, right?
So good.
But in all, like, when you look at the old Superman films, we've had insane Lex, and it's the cheapest, it's the cheapest way to make a villain is like...
Where have we had insane Lex?
Do you know what's... Yeah, we had Kevin Spacey's... Was it Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor?
What, in Superman Returns?
Yeah.
He wasn't really insane in that.
He was. There's a scene at the end where the whole film is him pretending to be a genius, and then it's revealed that he's insane, which is what this film did.
When does it reveal that?
What, that Lex Luthor's insane in this film?
No, in Superman Returns.
Dude, I don't remember. I remember there being a scene on a boat and he's doing something and he like snaps and he's like, "Wah!" It's like genuinely there is a scene that is like.
I don't remember seeing that as him being insane. Like, and obviously the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor was very much like criminal mastermind.
But that's the interesting Lex Luthor is he runs a multi-million like dollar company.
Yeah.
How does the Lex Luthor that we saw in this film get into that position? He goes, "Hey, this is my dad," but that's not how companies work. The board would be like, "Hey, you know what? This clearly fucking mental, insane dude, he's not fit to run this company."
But do we see him as insane, right? Before, like, we don't see Lex before the whole Superman thing happens. So for all we know, that could have been the triggering point. Once he realizes his whole speech that he often says about,
I'm not saying
God's
my issue isn't that I'm like sad that I didn't see sensible Lex Luthor become insane.
Yeah.
My issue is that the insane Lex Luthor is not as interesting a villain as a genius mastermind Lex Luthor.
I disagree. I much prefer a Lex Luthor we haven't seen before.
It's such a like no, but it just right. Okay, so like I said before, right?
Yep.
I was really excited. Like what I wanted this film to be was Superman trying to do good but being not evil, but like letting his power go to his head, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's the scene where people are like worshipping him as a god, and he stands there and lets them put their hands on him.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff's interesting to me.
Wait, is that the scene, the Day of the Dead scene where he rescues that woman from the fire? Yeah.
Yeah. Like I find that stuff interesting. I find the idea of power corrupting and that kind of thing interesting, which is what it should have been. And Batman would have been calling that with you can still have all of the story would have still made sense if that had been the focus.
Yep.
And it felt like they were trying at times to make that a focus, but just didn't go into it enough, right?
Okay.
So then, what's not interesting is that you've got this potential for this great film, and they just go, but the big bad guy is just this crazy guy who just makes a big monster.
Yeah.
And guess what? You guys just team up. It's like it's felt like such a cheap, overdone storyline in superhero films.
Okay.
Like you say, this film's different, but it hits a lot of the fucking normal notes.
If it does, it did it in a way where I wasn't aware that was what he was doing.
What? Just classically insane villain, two people team up?
Yeah, because like he's unhinged to me. I don't look at him and go, he's clearly insane. I look at him and I go, he's unhinged, he's unpredictable, and he's interesting.
I don't see that at all.
Alright.
It felt so mundane, dude. It's like, because they have scenes where he's trying to talk to the Senate and get the Senate to agree that they need a weapon to stop Superman, right?
Yes.
But instead of having any scene, like, they don't have him doing that and being like, oh yeah, okay, we need this kind of thing. Like, Lex Luthor in Smallville is interesting because he is a normal guy for most of it and is just trying to do the right thing and trying to be friends and just try and be normal. This Lex Luthor is just trying to be evil. Like, that's the most boring villain because
I think
we've had villains that just want to do bad because bad is fun. What we've got now is things like Wilson Fisk in Daredevil, where he was all about trying to save the city, but yes, he's doing the wrong thing. And you've got, like, those villains are the most interesting ones.
Yeah, I think
this Lex Luthor wasn't any of that.
I think what Smallville does well with Lex Luthor is essentially the reason why Lex Luthor turns bad in Smallville is because of Superman. And it's just this building distrust he has because Clark Kent is never fucking honest with him, despite the fact they're supposed to be friends.
Yeah, which makes it interesting.
Yeah, now I can equally see that this Lex, for all we know, we don't know the backstory to what unhinged this Lex.
No, we're not having this discussion. We're not having this film is good if a load of shit that we don't get to see happened.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's what makes it good. I'm not saying that's what makes it good. I'm saying there are elements to this film that we don't understand yet. So you might not like the fact that we don't understand those elements. I'm totally happy with it.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying... You're the one saying that there might be stuff we don't understand. I'm saying it's really obviously just a crazy Lex Luthor.
Yeah, you're kind of... I think the way you're looking at this film is everything that happens within the film, right, you don't like. And the way I'm looking at it is, I like most of the things that happen in this film, but also I'm willing to accept that outside of the film, that we don't get to see, there are other things potentially happening.
But see, I think you're just having wistful thinking. I don't think anything. That's the thing. The issue I'm having with you is that you're saying all this stuff about like you know, I know what you're saying, that potentially we'll get later films where maybe we'll get a look back and you'll find out that Lex Luthor has all these reasons or stuff like that, right?
No, I don't even think we'll necessarily get a look back. I just think it will become clearer. And again, it's what you said before, where we're 2 movies into this extended universe. It's very early days at the moment.
Yeah, but it's... honestly, you can't use that as an argument for this film being good.
No, I'm saying I enjoyed what I saw in this film. And the fact that there's things
that's what I don't understand. I genuinely can't understand why.
Alright, so Doomsday. We're still on Doomsday.
Alright, okay. I'll do a quick... something that's just one thing that's wrong with Doomsday.
Yep.
Or why they ruined it. Because you don't... Yeah. So, in the history of Doomsday, his powers... Or his main power was that Doomsday, once he'd been killed a certain way... his body would regenerate and he couldn't be killed the same way.
Okay.
So originally, like, Superman could be super strong, punch Doomsday to death, that would be fine. Doomsday would die. He would then come back and he'd be thick armoured and you couldn't punch him to death. Then he'd be heat rayed and then he'd build up an immunity to the heat ray or adapt it to his own use. What we get in this film is the military nuke him once and then a military guy goes, well, this monster cannot be killed. Because what? You've tried one fucking way of killing it?
Well, to be fair, they've tried the only thing that the military would kind of think of to kill something like that.
No, Liam, that's not true at all, because the military actually don't use nukes that much.
Right, no.
They don't try any other way. There's no...
To kill something like that. We've never had something like that happen, so we wouldn't know what the military, how they would respond.
But just a big monster? I imagine they'd shoot it first with tanks and stuff, but we don't get those scenes. We just get the nuke.
Yeah, it does seem like an extreme response.
It's because, right, so the issue was that they clearly tried... Like you said, there's a lot of story in this film, and there's too much story. They were trying to do too much at once. They didn't have enough time to establish Doomsday properly and do the other stuff they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's a real big flaw.
I don't think they should have had Doomsday in this movie. They shouldn't have just had Batman fighting Superman and then something else that's a bit less important.
Yeah, 100%. There should have been a less important villain that made them unite.
Also, the fight with Doomsday, for me, it was very CGI heavy. Like I wasn't necessarily bored by it or anything. It was just what the majority of what I liked was the fact that this movie was offering me something new. The fight with Doomsday, it wasn't anything. It basically felt like the Hulk versus Abomination fight in Incredible Hulk.
The moment we saw Doomsday in this film, all I could think was the Abomination from Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. So we've also got the Justice League stuff going on. And this is what I mean. This movie has way too much story, because we haven't even touched on the Justice League stuff and Wonder Woman. Yeah,
like, Wonder Woman didn't need to be in this film.
She didn't, but I think if they were going to put her in it, they used her just the right amount. Like, for me, there wasn't too much of her, and I'm now intrigued to see more of her. But I don't think she was overused. I just don't think she had to have been used.
I don't think she should have been in it at all.
I can see why, and I think that's fair. Like, I wouldn't have minded if she wasn't in it, but
I think I'd have preferred if she wasn't. I'd have preferred a Batman, Superman, like, ignoring all the stuff I didn't like.
Yeah.
Like, I could see myself enjoying the end scenes a lot more if it had been Batman and Superman working together.
Okay.
Because, it wasn't like Batman... It didn't feel like they needed Wonder Woman. Like, Batman's got the kryptonite grenade still.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where, because that's how they finally stop him, is... Batman kryptonite grenades him so he's weakened.
Yeah.
Superman sacrifices himself.
Yes.
And lunges a kryptonite spear into Doomsday.
Yeah.
The only thing Wonder Woman does is hold him still with her lasso of truth. We didn't need the fucking lasso of truth. If you're redoing Wonder Woman, one of the things to maybe drop, like, I get that the invisible jet wasn't in the film because that.
Well, we don't know that.
I mean, it could have been there, yeah, exactly. But we didn't need the lasso of truth.
Yeah.
I genuinely, when she did it, I was sitting there and I was like, I really hope she asks him something.
That would have been cool.
Are you General Zod? Yes. Aha!
But I honestly, I didn't mind the fact that Wonder Woman was in it, and like I said, like, it wasn't too much of her that I was like, she's in it too much. If they use her just the right amount for me to now be like, I'm kind of curious about the Wonder Woman movie. I'm not, like, excited for it, I'm just curious for it.
No, yeah.
And I think...
I'll probably go see it, the Wonder Woman film.
I think the reason for putting her in it as well is just because it is about time that Wonder Woman is in a movie, more than anything.
No, but she's getting her own movie.
Finally.
I'm not, like, against her being in this film because she's a woman.
Yeah.
I like Wonder Woman. She's a good character in the comic books.
Yeah, I also really liked her as, I think it's Diana Pryce, and the stuff we see with her and Bruce Wayne. If they could have just maybe kept it with that and not had the Wonder Woman persona, that would have been cool.
You still could have had, as much as I didn't like it, you still could have had him getting the files.
Yeah.
And seeing that she's Wonder Woman and having a scene where he's like, I've seen this photo of you from the 1940s. Like,
1918, because it was World War One.
Yeah, sorry, World War One, yeah.
Yep. Now, the other thing is... So one of the criticisms I read, I think I read a tweet or something, was they're saying one of their least favourites is where Wonder Woman literally stops the movie and sits down to watch a load of trailers for the Justice League.
Yeah.
That was quite funny.
That was such a shit scene.
I'm going to be honest, when they first show the files and you see those folders, I was just like, fucking open them. And then he didn't. I was like, oh, you motherfucker. And then when they did open it, I was satisfied. I liked the little glimpse of the Flash that we got.
But why did they need to be in the film? Like, I don't understand. Like, I know that they were doing it to be like, these are the Justice League members.
Yeah, they didn't.
But you could have that in the next film that's setting up the Justice League.
They didn't need to be in the film, but I didn't mind that they were.
It honestly took me out of the film.
I can see why.
Because I agree with... I hadn't seen that, but I agree. It felt like we were just seeing trailers of other films.
Yeah. I like the little Flash one. The Aquaman one, meh.
He took so long to fucking stab that spear.
Yeah, and you can do it.
He has like a minute build up of him pulling back his spear. You're like, oh, he's going to stab it. Then he doesn't.
Yep, and then
he does, and then he swims at supersonic speeds.
Then we had Cyborg, who that was the one where I was saying before I didn't even know what that was supposed to be. So that kind of confused me. But it was also, I think one of the things about this movie that's worth saying is it is pretty grim. Like it's quite dark. Like the themes that are going on. Like that whole half a body thing being electrocuted into life was pretty out there for a movie that you could bring kids to. Yeah. That was kind of messed up. But I liked it. I like that we have this dark...
It wasn't like a gory half body though.
No.
It was a robot half body.
Yeah.
Like clearly he's a human that's part robot. Like we get that from that scene.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It wasn't. It was a bit. It looks like he's in pain when that's happening.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And then we need to talk about the one thing that I'm so pleased didn't get spoiled for me: the fact that Superman dies. And that, to me, I was watching that and I was like, oh, okay, well, they'll figure out a way to bring him back. Maybe Lois Lane will quarrel him and he'll come back like Pokemon or something. And then they didn't. And I'm like...
No, but he is coming back.
Well...
No, he is. We see it at the end.
Yeah. But I like the fact that they didn't cop out and do it in this movie. They
did cop out. No. See,
I don't think they did.
I agree with you. I think that was a really ballsy move.
It was ballsy.
Unfortunately, the real ballsy move is to kill Superman, be like, he's our shittest franchise, and then just not fucking bring him back. No. That would be the ballsy move. That's what I want Marvel to do. That's what I want DC to do. I want them to kill a villain, a hero, and just be like, fuck it, we're done with him. He's out.
Right. Now, let's just backtrack a bit. I also... For me, like that the death of Superman stuff and the coffin and everything was interesting. One of the things,
so it's not interesting.
One of the things that I read was him in the coffin is he's not necessarily dead. He's just like in a real deep sort of kryptonite-y coma-y thing.
Kryptonian coma.
Yeah. He is obviously coming back later, and I'm pleased about that. But I just like that when that movie ends, if you, like me, don't have a huge understanding of the comics, you wouldn't necessarily know. Like you see. No, the only glimpse you see is a bit of dirt moves.
Yeah, the really obvious he's coming back. That shot in a film does not mean he's dead.
No. Right, we know he's coming back in some form, right? And this is what I want to talk about.
No, we know he's coming back. Not in some form, it's him.
Yeah, right. So one of the theories I read was, and I don't know how to say this, is it Darkseid?
Yeah, Darkseid.
Is the one that's going to bring him back.
Yes. Well, he's going to be, he's the one they were hinting at being the next enemy, we think.
Yeah. So here's one of the other things I wanted to talk about. What I like about this movie, and again, this is very much speculation and could be disproven at this point, but one of the things that maybe I didn't like about the movie, but one of the things that gives me hope for this DC extended universe, that's a better way of saying it, is, to me, Batman vs Superman not only continued Man of Steel, but built upon it. And I feel like what we've got at the moment is a load of puzzle pieces, but we haven't got the full picture yet. So we haven't quite discussed the dream sequences yet, and we can go into that if you want. But
not particularly, because they didn't come to anything.
All right, the Flash travelling back in time, talking to Superman.
Yeah.
Can you remember what it is he says?
He talks to Batman.
Sorry, he talks to Batman. Sorry, can you remember what he says?
Lois Lane, she's the key.
Yes.
You were right all along.
Yes.
He's going to do it.
Yes. Now, what I'm wondering is if that doesn't actually refer to anything that happened in Batman vs Superman.
No, it doesn't.
is referring to something that will happen in Justice League. And also, you know the whole Batman nightmare scene?
Yeah.
If that is actually foreshadowing, it isn't just a dream, that is actually what will happen when Superman returns. Now, obviously, this is speculation, but I'm saying
exactly.
It's like, these are the things that give me hope for this franchise.
I would love to be on board with you, and I would love to be able to speculate about these films. But I honestly, the last 2 ones they've shown me, I've hated so much that at this point, I honestly can't feel excited about Justice League because I've been let down twice. For me, I've been let down twice.
Yeah, I get that.
I'll probably go see it, and but I can't imagine I'll like it.
See, that's the thing. I feel like with what we've seen so far is, to me, it seems like Zack Snyder, who I don't think is the right person to be directing these movies, but it's what we've got, so that we have to deal with it. I feel like he kind of has a very clear vision of where he wants this to go, and what he's doing is putting these puzzle pieces down, but they're not quite forming the right picture yet, because we're still missing a couple of pieces, and that's what we're hopefully going to get by the time Justice League comes out, and suddenly some of the maybe criticisms of this movie will make a bit more sense in that grander context. That's what I'm hoping.
Okay, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, but it would be cool if it did.
It won't, so don't worry about it.
We'll have to wait and see.
You can keep dreaming.
Because
I'll live in the real world where they're just going to keep fucking it
Well,
up.
I feel like if they have to form the Justice League, right, it makes sense that they would form it to try and bring down Superman, and bringing Superman back as a baddie through the whole Darkseid thing or whatever.
No, because Darkseid will be the baddie in that film. That's what they're saying.
But would Darkseid not be influencing or controlling Superman somehow? I don't know how the story works.
But that also means that we're going to get the same thing we had this time, where we get half a film where they're fighting Superman,
yeah,
and then half a film where they're fighting Darkseid.
I'll be okay with that, because they're splitting Justice League into 2 parts, aren't they?
Are they?
I think so. I might be wrong,
Jesus
but I thought they were.
Christ.
So that would almost make sense if part 1 was them versus Superman, and part 2 was them versus Darkseid. If that's what they do. This is very much speculation at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know. Can we point out as well? Can I just point out one other issue? This isn't a main issue. This is just an issue I had.
Yeah.
Is that final scene? You've got Superman's being buried.
Yes.
They're having the funeral.
Yes.
Bruce Wayne is standing off to the side.
Yeah.
Diana Pryce comes up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "We need to find the other people like you."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Something, because something bad's going to happen." And she goes, "How do you know?" And he goes, "I have a feeling." But you're the world's greatest detective. Fuck off with feelings and stuff.
Yeah.
They could have been like, I don't know. He's meant to be brilliant. They could have been like, not even reveal it. Just him being like, I've discovered something, or I found something, instead of just being like, I've got a feeling that the world's going to have a Justice League.
I had no issue. That made me smile. I liked that.
I walked out of this film and I was like,
I can imagine you just like shaking with rage.
No, I was disappointed.
Okay.
Which was what I imagined that the film felt like I used to feel when my dad was like, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Fair enough. See, I think, so not only did I like it because it was very different to all of the superhero stuff we tend to get, particularly Marvel, but the other thing is, I was watching it, and I have my issues with Zack Snyder as a director, but he does do visuals very well, and I was watching it, and it just made me feel like a child while I was watching it, and I was just happy. I was like, this... The thing is, if you overthink certain bits, sure, it doesn't make sense. But they're doing a comic book movie that only fans that overthink anything are comic book fans. But equally, if you overthink why is there a man dressed as a bat versus an alien flying around, it doesn't make sense. It completely falls apart. But
you're one of those people. No, but you're one of those people who I've had this argument with so many people where you can't say, why would a man dress as a bat and run around, right? Because the film tells you why. So long as the film explains something, it's like when people are like, oh, but you'll watch films with elves and dwarves in it, that's ridiculous. And you're like, no, because that's part of their lore, and they establish why that's a thing, or they give a reason that the magic works, that sort of thing. I only find issue with films when they show me something and have nothing supporting it.
Okay.
So we've not had any support as to why Batman would think there is a big evil coming.
No.
The only person that seemed to know anything was Lex, and by know something, I mean he's the one that makes all the references, but really he doesn't know that Darkseid's a thing.
Can we also point out that final scene with Lex and Batman, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, I liked that final scene.
That was cool.
I don't know why he didn't brand him, but
no, but yeah, to me it just made me feel like a kid again watching this movie. I just, as a purely visual feast. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed some of the themes it was tackling. I enjoyed the performances. I mean, I think we have to shout out to Ben Affleck, who kills it. As
he was, like, as much as I'm hating on this film,
Yeah.
I loved Batman in this film,
Yeah.
and I thought the Batman stuff was really good.
I think this is the first time we've got an actor who can not only pull off Bruce Wayne, but also Batman.
Christian Bale was good.
Christian Bale, for me, his Bruce Wayne aired a little bit too close to his American Psycho. Like, yeah, I had issues with Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne. I think he did a very good Batman, but the Bruce Wayne was a bit lacking for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I get that.
Whereas I think Keaton, Keaton I think did Batman a lot better than he did Bruce Wayne. George Clooney we just don't discuss, and I think Val Kilmer did Bruce Wayne a lot better than he did Batman.
Yeah, fair enough.
Jesse Eisenberg, you know what to get with him. You know you're going to get these nervous tics and the rapid talking and whatnot. I think for this version of Lex, it worked, and I was perfectly content.
Yeah, he was good at acting this version of Lex. My issue is that we didn't want this version of Lex.
Well, you didn't. I was very happy with it.
Apparently, most people didn't either, Liam, judging by the reviews.
Apparently, most people did not want this movie at all, which is mental because I was just fucking elated that we got Batman vs Superman movie. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, we don't see a lot of her, but what we do see, I think she was fine.
Yeah, she seems like she'll be a good Wonder Woman.
Now, Henry Cavill, I've always liked as Superman. I really don't think we get enough of him in this movie.
It's because he's not an they've realised that they've accidentally created a really uninteresting character, and they can't show him too much because everyone will realise it.
I disagree. And I also really like his Clark Kent, which again, like the one big Clark Kent thing is him being like, I want to write about the Bat Vigilante, and then Perry just being like, nah mate, you got to write about sport.
Yeah, then he doesn't write the story.
Yeah.
How has he got a job?
Well, he's dead now.
Yeah, does everyone realise he's Superman? Yeah, because
No.
he got the guns. Yeah, no, they do, because he got the gun salute.
What?
They did or was that because they were having... See, because they had the Superman funeral, right?
Yeah.
And then she's at Clark Kent's funeral.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think they...
So how does the world not know he's Superman?
Well, all I remember is there was the news article that said one of our own died in the big fight, and it was like an obituary to Clark Kent. Now,
Yeah,
I think if they'd found out he was Superman, that would have probably been front page news.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Our reporter was fucking Superman.
Superman's dead. Also, that guy that was working for us that used to write sport articles, he was Superman.
Yeah. Right, for a Batman versus Superman movie, you would think they would have an equal split between the two, and it was very much... This was basically a Batman movie featuring a small part by Superman.
Yeah.
Almost a cameo, really. Speaking of cameos, fucking loved Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
That was brilliant. We had an email from one of our dear listeners, Kat. She came with me to see the movie.
I haven't read this, so tell me what she thinks.
Right. It's not often that me and her disagree on movies. We generally tend to have the same opinions. She said, I found the first half of the film almost boring, as not a lot was going on, and then when the action scenes started happening, they just weren't very good. Snyder makes his action scenes look apocalyptic, which didn't suit the rest of the film. The storytelling was messy. Also, the music used throughout the film was intrusive and ridiculous. There is no need for a loud sound as soon as something dramatic is about to happen, e.g. when Batfleck is about to shoot the tracking device onto the truck, there's a loud bit of orchestration which was genuinely distracting. The upside was that Ben Affleck made a good Batman and Bruce Wayne, and Jesse Eisenberg was great too. Shame Henry Cavill didn't have more of a chance to shine because he's hunky.
Fair enough.
She came out and she was very much like, she thought it was very average. And like, don't get me wrong, as much as I enjoy this movie, I totally see where the critics are coming from. But
I like that you're very carefully not saying you see where I'm coming from.
I think you unless they had basically given you exactly what you wanted,
no,
you wouldn't have liked it.
You always think the worst about me. With
I really
like
do.
This. I don't know why though, because I've never acted like that with a film.
I think
all the other films I've seen, the films that you've shown me and made me watch, I've never gone in and been like, I want this film to be exactly this. Like, I'd have been happy if this film had been... Like, the stuff I'm saying in this podcast is because I've seen the film now.
Yes.
And I'm looking back and saying, I can see a good film in there. Like, I'm not even going with what I originally said, which is, you know, the Superman has, like, people bowing down to him story, which I also thought would have been good. I'm not even like, I wish they'd done that. I just wish they'd focused on the interesting stuff instead of the shit stuff, in my opinion.
That makes sense. So, with this R-rated Blu-ray cut coming out with 30 minutes of extra, do you think that could redeem any elements of the movie, or do
No,
you
because
think...
I'm not going to watch it.
Alright, I was going to say, or do you think it will just exaggerate the things that you didn't like already?
I think maybe if I hear that people have super enjoyed the R-rated one, if I start seeing critics be like, oh, I'm so sad they didn't release this as the film, this makes it all worth it, then maybe I'll watch it and I'll be willing to like re-review it. But unless I see stuff like that, like if people start saying, well, it makes it average, from bad to average, I won't watch it because that won't be good enough.
That's fair enough. I will definitely be watching it. I'm eager to dive into more of this world now. Like we were discussing, I was very reluctant at first, and now I've just kind of given myself over to it. I like it. I like that it was different. It's not just the same bland shit we've seen before. It was darker, it was grittier, and it propelled at least Batman, who for me is one of the more interesting DC characters, in a new direction that I haven't seen before. And I want the movie to do well, just so we get more Batman, more than anything. And like my one kind of...
I want it to do badly so that they reevaluate what they're doing and they go, we've got to make better films.
Well, that would be nice.
I think they can do it. I think they can make a good film. I'm not...
I think they could. I really, really, really think a big problem is Zack Snyder, and I think we need to remove him from directing and just have him as like an exec producer.
Yeah, so see, maybe you should be saying the film shit so that they go, oh, let's get rid of Zack Snyder.
I enjoyed it still. I think with a different director, this could have been even better, but I enjoyed what I got, despite the flaws. And I'm hopeful about... I think Suicide Squad is definitely going to be good.
Oh, I'm not rating Suicide Squad based on this.
No, I think Suicide Squad will be good.
Suicide Squad.
Wonder Woman, I'm indifferent to. And Justice League, I'm hopeful for.
Yep.
We'll see.
Fair enough.
So for you, out of 5?
2.
For me, 4. So listeners, go watch it and make your own minds up.
Yeah, or don't go and watch it because it's not worth it.
To be fair, if you just listen to all of us doing all this talk and you haven't seen it yet, probably not much point in you watching it. We've literally discussed pretty much every element of it.
I think we have, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that rounds out our very special episode.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks for listening to this very special Nerd on Nerd. Listen to the actual podcast on Monday, which will be the Monday after this goes up. So I'll do all the proper stuff then. You can tweet us at Nerd on Nerd, email us at nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com. I've been Jack Kempster.
I've been Liam Underwood, and if you would like more special episodes like this, fuck it, let us know. Maybe we'll listen.
Don't fuck it. It would be real hard for you to fuck a podcast. How do you fuck audio?
Maybe you just like wank while listening. Bye!
Bye!